Hey there, this is Mike and you're listening to Feeling Twisty. I'm really glad you're here. For most of my life, I identified myself as Mike, a white American male living along the coast of the Gulf of Mexico, down in the deep south of the US. And as a child, I was a student. And then I got out of college and fell in love, got married, and added husband to my identity. Then a father. All of these things were what made me me, my religion and my location in this country, the family I was raised by. All of these things were what made me me. And then I saw the world from that point of view. I reacted to the world from that point of view, from that identity. I even had a certain arrogance that came with that identity, and also fears. For many years, I thought, this is who I am, and that's all I'm ever going to be. And to move out of circumstances that I don't want, I have to work hard at it and climb over other people to get ahead. It's a war out there, and it's a struggle. But that's not me now. Well, it never was me, not who I really am. Who I am is, well, I amness, beingness, awareness, or God. Neville calls it imagination with a capital I. He says imagination is God, awareness. And God in action, imagination in action is imagining. I am imagining or conscious of being Mike. And in this state of consciousness, Mike, I can move into and occupy any state I choose. In the lecture, God-Given Talent, Neville says, for God, imagining creates, and God is man. So man imagining creates. There is no separation between God and man. We are one. I am one with you and you with me. I am one with the Father, with God, awareness. I am awareness. And so are you. Simply moving through states, imagining yourself to be your lot in life and all that comes with it. Your traditions, laws, restrictions, your own beliefs about what is possible and what isn't possible, your prejudices, all of these things come from that state of consciousness. Who and what you are conscious of being, what you are imagining for yourself. None of these are you. They never have been. These are just aspects of whatever state you're occupying. Each one of us is God, imagination, awareness, imagining ourselves to be different and separate, conscious of being a certain race, religion, separate and different, maybe less than or greater than those others out there. We're moving through states of consciousness on this wheel of recurrence. That's what Neville calls it, until we break from this circular movement into a spiral motion. If you're listening to this, I believe you've already made that break, or you're about to. You can probably feel it, that sensation of something really big, something wonderful is about to happen. Okay, back to my point. You're not your state. You are God, awareness, experiencing who and what you're conscious of being. You're forever experiencing what you are imagining. And that's wonderful news. Even though, you might have had some really crappy things happen in your life. But the great news is, the wonderful news is that you can change the course of your life. You can change what you're imagining about yourself. And it's not difficult. It really isn't. You can transcend any limitations by becoming conscious of being something else, by imagining yourself into a lovelier state. In Facts Overflow the World, Neville says, we just need to acquire the taste for the new state. You can acquire the taste of living in comfort. You want to live like a lady, like a gentleman, with no pressure to pay the rent? All right. Assume that you are that lady. You are that gentleman. penetrate the facts. The facts tell you that you are not, that you don't have it. Penetrate the facts and live in the state as though you have it. And may I tell you, you'll have it. Don't ask me how. The ways and means are contained within the state you enter. So enter a state, and it contains all that is necessary to externalize that state. So pick out your state, a lovely state, and go right into that state and dwell in it. I call that occupying the state and thinking from it instead of thinking of it. Just like you think of your present state with all the present facts around you to anchor you into it, get into another state, all in your imagination, and the facts will appear to anchor you into that state. Isn't that lovely? You don't have to worry about the details. You don't have to worry about how it's going to happen or, is this even feasible? Of course it is. And all you need to do is decide what state you want to occupy and enter it in imagination. Everything needed comes with that state. It's a package deal. You pick the state and dwell in it, and everything that's part of that state comes about, even the how-to part, the details of getting you from this state of not having it to the physical manifestation of actually having that experience, whatever it is you want. Neville goes on to say, the day you tire of that state, you can get out of it and go into another state. When I first started diving into Neville, a friend in one of the Facebook groups talked about having fun with states, exploring states for fun, and for a better understanding of who we really are, God moving through states. I was scared. I was afraid to try it because I didn't trust myself to get out of a state so easily. I didn't want to play that game, picking states that were less than what I wanted to experience, or even messing around with it. It was too much for me, and I really was afraid that I would come up with a state and enter it and then get stuck there. But I was still thinking of myself as Mike from Louisiana, separate. I hadn't remembered. I hadn't remembered that Mike is just a character that my I am, who I really am, has been dreaming. Now I so love exploring states as awareness. I am all that is, that no thingness. I can't experience things until I imagine, until I am conscious of being something. Even in that formless, faceless nothingness, I can't form the words to describe the experience. It's only until I become conscious of being something, conscious of language and vocabulary, that I can form the words to describe what awareness feels like. Love. That's, love. Bliss, but love. It's this love that trying to describe it to you won't do it justice. It's something to experience. Absolute, infinite love, saturating everything. That's what it feels like. But I can't describe that and form these words until I am conscious of being something, conscious of being me, with a language and vocabulary so I can describe that to you. So knowing that my I Amness is God, I choose what I want to experience and I move into that state. It doesn't take an imaginal scene. We are all imagination, awareness. You listening to me right now, this act of you listening, is an imaginal scene. You only have to choose what you want to experience and decide that it's done. Trust your imagination. Trust God. That's you. Trust yourself. If you believe that God is imagination and God in action is imagining and that you are God, then all you need to do is accept that it's done. You don't need a big ritual, a certain type of meditation, a certain position to put your body in. You don't need to worry about tuning a vibration or frequencies or certain music. Look around you. Look around at the beautiful and the not so beautiful things in your life. Just take a look at all of your experiences. That's you. You're doing that. You see how easy that is? Earlier in the week, I was playing with states. And I don't judge states. I know who I am, but I will play around in states and just experience things. I explore them for fun, and while doing it, expanding, forever expanding. There is no limit to our expansion. Our purpose here is to expand the kingdom within us, to know imagination. That's what Neville says is our divine purpose. So how are we ever going to get to know who we really are if we don't explore? Neville says, you are the pilgrim passing through unnumbered states. The states remain, but you, the pilgrim, pass through them like a traveler passing through a city. The city remains, but you pass through. You don't rub out the state. Poverty remains a state when a man who was once poor moves out of it. He moves out of the state of poverty into a state of affluence, but he doesn't destroy the state of poverty. Anyone can fall into it. No person is supreme because he is wealthy and the other is not. It's a state. Don't condemn the occupant of the state. The state is the thing, but the occupant is God. The same I Amness that occupies a state of poverty is the same I Amness that occupies a state of wealth. The state is the thing, and God is its occupant. You can go into any state, and the being in the state is God. And you wear these states as you wear clothes, but you must be consistent, and you must actually believe it. Now that's the part that I used to think was so damned hard. Sure, be consistent, he says. Just believe, he says. I shifted from that it's hard to believe and hard to be consistent state when I decided to start noticing the connection between my experiences in the physical arena and what I am imagining, my concept of self and my world. I began noticing those connections, the threads between my imaginal acts and my physical experiences. But then I realized there isn't even a connection. For me, connection means uniting two separate things, joining them together. But there cannot really even be a connection, a connecting of the two, because it's all consciousness. We separate it, thinking that what we imagine is different than what appears in the physical arena. But that isn't the case. I don't experience separation. Not usually. I do when I slip into a state and get so enamored with it that I experience some sort of separation. But that's still only the state. That's not who I am. Who I am cannot be separated or picked apart or divided. And that I am that I'm talking about is still, it's you. It's your I am. There is no separation. There's not even the slightest bit of separation to even connect it. It is all one. Assume the feeling of already having or being who and what you want. Make the decision and stick to it. And sustain it. Sustain that feeling, that knowingness. Sustain the decision. Be consistent. Neville repeatedly says to be persistent, and to persist means to continue to exist. So continue to exist in that new state. Continue to clothe yourself with that state, to experience the feeling of already being it. Because experiencing the feeling and sustaining that feeling will objectify the state. Don't be double-minded. I want this. No, maybe in this instead. Maybe I'm asking for too much. I don't really deserve this big of an income. Oh, maybe I can just get by. Maybe you've experienced that. Maybe you haven't. I have. Deciding what I want, finding a lovely state to occupy, but never actually moving into it. Instead, I start worrying if it's too much of an ask, or I start negotiating with myself, talking myself out of it, deciding that, oh, that's too much. I'll just get by with this. I don't need a big income. I just need to get through this month. Silly things, really. Silly things to think about. But we do, sometimes. Be absurdly irrational. Push through any limits that you think are on you, any limits from society or tradition. Your country has a set of traditions that you must abide by. The family says this is the way it is. Push through that. Go beyond what you think you should be or have. go beyond what you think is possible. Just decide right now that you are already who you want to be. You're God, by the way, in case you've forgotten. I love you. I really do. This is Feeling Twisted.